we can repeat that topic again as well and discuss that topic in more detail. All right. So this course will be based on EDU 318, which is official Prisma Access course by Palo Alto Network. All right. So first we'll start with the challenges which we have with the traditional network. So let me share my screen. So first we'll understand the challenges and we'll understand the need of the SASE, which is very important. All right. So let me share my screen and let me know once you see it. All right. I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah,
All
it is
right.
visible.
Okay. So the challenges with the traditional network designs. Okay. So uh, the network now is distributed. The services, it is totally distributed. Some services are hosted on the cloud, and the SaaS applications, the mobile users, our workforce is also distributed, right? It's no more like the user works from the office network. The user can work from anywhere outside the network as well. So the definition of perimeter has changed. So that it is closer to where the remote users are located and where the applications and the data reside. So this is the current challenge with the traditional network. Like we have to deploy the perimeter firewall, you can say, to each and every place, which add up to the cost. So we'll be discussing how we can solve this challenge by the SASE solution. This is one of the challenge which we have currently with the traditional network. And let's see the other challenge as well. So in this example, on the left side, we have the data center in California. We have some of the branch offices like in New York. We have in Chicago as well. All right. And you can see here, there is an MPLS connection between the data center and the Chicago office, which is very expensive, which is very
Could you
expensive.
please, sorry to interrupt, could you please a little bit zoom your screen maximum
Yeah, sure.
because it is showing blur. Uh,
Is it better?
just a little bit. Yeah. If you zoom in, but it will be okay. No problem. Go ahead, please.
All right. So we have the MPLS connection. This is the traditional network design. So with each and every branch office, it is not feasible to have a dedicated MPLS connection. It is expensive, right? And we need to have access to the data center from the branch office because our perimeter firewall is there, which will inspect the traffic. And once the traffic is inspected, then it will go towards the destination, which is internet, which adds up to the latency as well. Because if a user is in New York and he wants to access something, then the traffic will first go to the California. Then from California data center, it will be inspected and it will go to the internet. Same thing apply for the Chicago branch office as well. So Chicago user will also access something over the internet. The traffic will first come to the data center, which is in California, where it will be inspected. And from there, then it will go towards the internet. So let's cover the points which are listed here. So an existing MPLS or IPsec connection is implemented from the California data center, which we mentioned, to each remote site, which is New York and Chicago. All traffic of over this connection is inspected at this data center where we have our firewall, where the traffic is either allowed or denied on the basis of security policy rules which we have. To reduce latency, we have established an MPLS connection between the Chicago and New York branch office as well. If a user want to communicate from New York to Chicago, we have the MPLS connection, but there is no security here. The security is missing in this between New York and Chicago. Now, to add a layer of security between Chicago and New York, the MPLS connection is removed. Now, when the users, so let's take an example. Now, there is no MPLS connection between New York and Chicago. Now, when user who is in Chicago want to access something in New York side, the traffic has to first reach the data center, which is in California, where it will be inspected, and then it will go to the New York side, which adds to the latency. It improves the security posture, but it adds up to the latency. Many frequently used applications are now hosted over the internet. To inspect and protect internet-bound traffic from these remote branch offices, the connections are routed over the MPLS or IPsec tunnel through the data center. And then when the traffic is inspected in the data center, it goes to the internet. This also adds up to the latency. This is also called as backhauling of traffic, that the traffic first has to go to the data center every time where it is inspected and then it goes to the destination. It is a backhaul traffic. Any questions with the challenges which we discussed? All right, let's move forward. Okay. The security where we have remote access VPN, where we have the MPLS connections, we have different security devices. I mean, the multiple products like CASB, proxy to access various traffic where the traffic could be over the destination could be over the internet. It could be the SaaS application. It could be hosted over the public cloud as well. Also, it adds up to the uh, complexity where we have to manage multiple devices, multiple products to achieve that security. Traditional design for the mobile users. So a mobile user is a remote user who works from outside the corporate network. So that mobile user, if he want to access something, his traffic first comes to the data center where the security policy is applied. Once the security policy is applied on the traffic, then the traffic goes to the destination. So if, for example, if a user is sitting in the India region and there is a user in the US region, and we have our data center in India, the user in India, the traffic will
No voice, Naresh.
I think there was an interruption. Sorry for that. I'll reshare my screen. Let me know once you see that. All right.
Yeah,
So the mobile user, for the India mobile user, that is not a challenge because the data center is in India only. The traffic will first come to the India data center. The policies will be applied on the traffic, and the traffic will go towards the destination wherever it is, whether it is internet or whether it is the corporate application. Okay. But for the US user, the traffic will first come to the data center, which is in India, where the policies will be enforced, and then it will go towards the destination. So it adds up to the latency, and it is actually a backhauling of VPN traffic. To solve this problem, we can have another data center in US as well, but it will add up to the cost, right? It's not feasible to have the data center in each and every location. So this is also one of the major challenge with their traditional designs. Okay, so now as we have discussed the challenges with the traditional network, now we'll see how the SASE solution of Palo Alto Networks, which is Prisma Access, will solve this. Okay, so I'll stop this and I'll reshare my screen. Just give me a minute, please. Okay. Okay. Let me know once you see my screen.
yeah, we are able to see.
Okay. So this is the architecture of Prisma Access, where we have some of the major components defined here. So we'll discuss all the major components one by one. First component which we are going to discuss is the security processing node. Okay. So security processing node, what it is. So it is a node on which the security policies are applicable. When I say applicable, we configure security policy and the traffic is inspected on the basis of the policies. Our branch office, which is also known as the remote network, okay, is connected with these security processing nodes with the help of IPsec tunnel. So if I have a branch office in New Delhi, for example, and I want to secure this branch user traffic, what I'll do is I'll configure an IPsec tunnel, and this tunnel will terminate on the security processing node, which is a Prisma access location, basically. All right. The traffic will come here, it will be inspected, and then it will go towards the destination, whether it is in internet or whether it could be any server which is in the data center. So always remember that the branch office connects to the remote network component. So when we'll start the labs, you will see there is remote network. So remote network is basically used to secure branch office user traffic. So remote network is the first component. Okay. And then we have something called service connections. So remote network was branch office. We have service connection, which is data center to secure data center traffic. Data center service connection basically connects to the corporate access node on the Prisma access side. Okay. It is not a security processing node. Why it is not a security processing node? Because we don't have any security policy inspection on this node. We don't have. Basically, this node is for the inbound traffic. When I say inbound traffic, I mean that if a user is sitting behind this data center and he want to access internet, that is not possible. That is not possible through service connection. To connect the data center to the Prisma access, corporate access node, we'll build an IPsec tunnel like we do in the remote network. Now, what is the difference between security processing node and the corporate access node? As I mentioned, security processing node is where we inspect traffic on the basis of security policies. On the other hand, corporate access node doesn't provide that flexibility. We don't have the security inspection here. No security policy will be configured. That was the first difference. Now the second difference. Security processing node, which we call remote network as well, the license of it is on the basis of bandwidth. So we purchase a bandwidth as per our requirement. For example, if I have an office in India and I have a requirement of 1 gig, because I know that 1 gig is needed to for that branch office. So I'll allocate a bandwidth for this remote network. Whereas for the corporate access node, it is not on the basis of bandwidth. We don't have any bandwidth allocation here. So that is the second difference. First, the security inspection happens on the remote network node, which is a security processing node. Corporate access node, there is node security inspection. Second, it is on the basis of bandwidth, the license, the remote network security processing node. On the corporate access node, it is not on the basis of bandwidth. It is not. Third, we can access internet through security processing node, like the branch user who is sitting in this branch office, he can access internet through this. But we cannot access internet through corporate access node. It is for the inbound traffic. When I say inbound traffic, I mean this branch user, if we want to access this server, the traffic will first come to the security processing node. From here, it will come to the corporate access node. And from here, it will come to this perimeter device and then it will reach the server. So it is inbound. All right. These are the three major differences between security processing node and corporate access node. Security processing node is equivalent to the remote network. Corporate access node is equivalent to the service connection. You can say these are the different names for these nodes. And the third component, which is for the remote workforce, which is the mobile user gateway. So a user who is working outside the corporate network, he will connect to the nearest MU gateway. So Palo Alto offers 100 plus locations. So the user will automatically connect to the nearest location. And once the connection is established with that, the traffic will be inspected here. And once the traffic is inspected, it will go towards the destination. If it is for the internet, then the traffic will go from MU gateway straight to the internet. If it is for the server, for example, in this data center, then the traffic will first come to the service connection node, which is also known as the corporate access node. And from corporate access node, it will reach to the DC1 firewall. And from here, then it will come to the server. All right. Any questions with these three components which we discussed? We discussed security processing node, we discussed corporate access node, and we discussed mobile user. So these are the three components, major components, I would say, which describes the Prisma Access architecture.
The security processing node is like a firewall, right?
That is correct. It's like the Palo Alto firewall, you can say, which is a virtual instance basically over the cloud. When I say the cloud, I mean that it
So
is
it will
hosted.
have PAN OS, right? It will have PAN OS.
Absolutely correct. It will have PAN OS.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So basically, the infrastructure here is managed by Palo Alto. So the customer or the organization doesn't need to worry about the upgrade of these firewalls, these nodes, and they don't have to manage these devices. So these are timely upgraded by Palo Alto, and everything like the monitoring and all, everything is done on the Prisma Access side by the Palo Alto team. All right.
Are these physical devices or
These are not the physical devices. These are the virtual devices.
oh,
Also, the user doesn't have access to these devices. If you are thinking that you can log into these specific nodes, we cannot. As I mentioned, everything is managed by Palo Alto. So we'll be having a portal access. And from the portal, we'll do the configuration. We'll push the configuration and the changes will be implemented on these devices. Coming to the management of Prisma Access, like how we can manage Prisma Access, how we can do the configuration, there are two mechanisms. Those two mechanisms are like we can configure Prisma Access by Panorama. Uh, are you familiar with Panorama? Palo Alto Panorama device?
yeah?
Okay. Yeah. So if you are familiar with Panorama, then it will be very easy. And the second mechanism by which we can manage Prisma Access is the cloud portal. There is a cloud portal where we have where we can manage the firewalls as well, like we do it from the Panorama, and we can manage Prisma Access, Prisma Cloud. These are the different offerings by Palo Alto. We can do DLP, we can do SaaS inline, we can do many stuff from that particular portal. It's a single portal which is used to manage everything. All right. So these are the two mechanism of the management. Now, so these security processing nodes, so traffic is coming to these nodes, right? There will be logs generated. So where these logs will be stored? These logs will be stored on a component which is Cortex Data Lake. Okay. It is also on the cloud, managed by Palo Alto Networks. Whatever the logs are generated on these security processing nodes and the mobile user gateway node, right? It is stored on the Cortex Data Lake. and it comes with the license. Whatever the license we purchase, we get the Cortex data lake as well. It is prerequisite, I would say, to have that. And as per our requirement, we can purchase the license for it. It could be 1 TB, it could be 2 TB, it could be 3 TB, as per our requirement, depending on the size of the company, right? We purchase the license for Cortex data lake. Okay, so now we'll discuss the internal architecture of Prisma Access, how the topology looks like inside Prisma Access Cloud, how these nodes are interconnected. Okay. So security processing node is connected to each and every corporate access node. It is a full mesh topology. Okay. So this security processing node is connected to this node as well. It is connected to this node as well. If we have any other data center, for example, DC3, then it is connected to that as well, each and every node. And corporate access node is also connected to each and every corporate access node. It is also connected as a full mesh topology. Whereas mobile user gateway node is only connected to the nearest corporate access node. So this mobile user node is connected to CAN2. It is not connected to CAN. It is only connected to CAN2 because this is the nearest node for this gateway. So let's take an example. This mobile user 1 want to access a server which is in DC1. So the traffic will first come to this node. Okay. From here, the traffic will go to this CAN2. And from CAN2, it will come to this firewall, which is in DC. When I say DC, the data center, it is hosted inside the customer network. And then from here, it will come to the server. But if a mobile user 1 want to access a server, which is in this SC1, in this data center, okay, how the flow looks like. The traffic will first come to this node again, which is the nearest one for that user. From here, as I said, it is always connected to the nearest node. So it will first come to this corporate access node, also known as service connection node. Now it will check the routes where this server is. So the routes are distributed. How the routes are distributed? We have the static routes. We have the BGP. So whatever we are using, on the basis of that, it will get to know, okay, to reach this, I have to first come to this node, and from here, I have to come here, and then from here to here. So we define the routes for each and every server. The routing is done, either the static routing we do, or we do the BGP routing to distribute the routes of our network.
Then where the policy inspection is done? Because I cannot see any security processing node here in the pathway you're showing.
That's right. The security policy inspection happens on this mobile user gateway. So this remote network node is also a security processing node. Okay. And this mobile user gateway node is also a security processing node. We
Okay,
configure security policy here. All right.
all right.
But the CAN
And
nodes are
they don't have any security policy, right? CAN nodes.
correct. Correct. They don't have any. Also, if we talk about that redundancy, okay, what if this node goes down, the corporate access node or the security processing node, right? Then the traffic will not reach to the Prisma access. So Prisma infrastructure offers a backup node as well. So a backup node is like a passive node. If you are familiar with HA, so it is an active passive setup. So if this goes down, then the backup will take over. Same for the corporate access node as well. If this goes down, the backup will take over. But for the mobile user, that is not the case. If the user is not able to establish a connection with this gateway node, it will connect to the next nearest gateway node. Okay, so let's discuss how the mobile user traffic comes to the Prisma access. Mobile user uses a global protect agent. Okay, so user will connect and put his credentials in the agent, and the agent will establish a connection on the basis of various parameters. When I say various parameter, it could be the round trip time, and there is a complex formula which Palo Alto uses, and it calculates a weight with different locations with which the user can connect to. And whichever location gives the lowest weight, it establishes a connection with that location. So mobile user connects to the nearest one. If that is not available, then it will connect to the next nearest location. So that's how the redundancy is provided in this scenario. Any questions?
So, for example, this mobile user gateway is went down. Okay.
Yeah.
So, so how do we know the which is the nearest one, the mobile user gateway?
It happens automatically. Okay.
Okay.
So the user
So,
doesn't need to connect to the next nearest one. Automatically, the agent, global product agent will identify the next nearest one. As I mentioned, it calculates the weight with each and every location. Whichever location is having the next lowest weight, it will connect to that.
okay. So will they provide the where the mobile user gateway is located? The
That's right.
information of the location.
Right. So basically, when we configure Prisma Access, we get an option what all locations which we want to select, what all location we want to have our mobile user gateway hosted. For example, if I have a company and I have few users in Europe, I have few users in India, I have few users in US, then I'll make sure that I'll select mobile user gateway locations when I'll configure the global protect for that. Make sense?
Okay.
Let me show you. Let me show you. Let me
Yeah.
show you. Let me show you. See, these are all the locations.
All right. Reason wise, they have implemented the okay. They hosted
Correct.
the mobile user gateway and all other uh,
Yes,
remote uh, that can and span. Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. So as I mentioned, 100 plus locations are there.
Uh,
This was not possible with the traditional network design, right? Whenever the traffic is inspected, it first come to the data center wherever our perimeter firewall is. For few locations, it will be the nearest data center, but for few corporate location, it could be far away as well. But with the Prisma access, we can always select the nearest location.
How our organization connects to Prisma Access? Through our firewall, through a VPN?
You mean like how we can manage Prisma access? How an
No,
admin can,
no. How do we connect our organization to Prisma Access?
when we
Sorry, I
say
was not
organ,
there in the
okay,
beginning of the class. Yeah.
that's fine, that's fine. So organization has multiple workforce, right? An
Yes.
organization will be having branch office, right? So
Yes.
to connect the branch office, we will configure an IPsec tunnel. For example, this branch office is in Delhi location. So this Delhi location will connect to the nearest node, which is security processing node on the Prisma access. This is
Aha.
how
Okay.
the branch office is connected.
Okay.
And if I talk about the mobile user, which is a remote user who is working outside the office, how he will connect to Prisma Access? He will install an agent on his machine, which is Global
Okay.
Protect agent, and it will connect to the nearest mobile user gateway. Automatically that happens. The agent does that job. And
Okay.
how the data
Got it.
center of the organization connected to Prisma Access? It is connected again through IPsec tunnel.
Right.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
remember that we talk about branch office on the Prisma Access side, it is the remote network, which we will configure. I'll show you. When we talk about the data center of the organization, how we can connect data center, then we are talking about service connections on the Prisma Access. We will be configuring an IPsec tunnel in the service connection component. And the
Okay.
mobile user is the Global Protect. Are you familiar with the Global Protect?
Not much.
Yeah,
Okay,
that is like a a tunnel between the like Cisco any connect is there, right? So likewise we have the global protect.
correct, correct, correct. All right,
By
so
the way, we can use any security appliance with Prisma Access, or it should only be Palo Alto firewall.
okay, so are you talking in terms of this IPsec tunnel connectivity?
Yes.
So for example, yeah. So if I want to connect my Delhi office with Prisma Access, it is not necessary that I need a Palo Alto firewall here. It could be any IPsec capable device. Okay. I just need to build an IPsec tunnel and I want to forward the traffic. That's it.
That's
So
great.
basically, on the customer side, it's not a requirement to have the Palo Alto firewall or any device. It could be any IPsec capable device. And to manage Prisma Access, we have two ways. One is the cloud portal, and the second is the Panorama. In this training, we'll be doing the configuration on the Panorama. We'll be doing the labs. We'll be doing the lab for mobile user. Okay. We'll onboard the locations as we discussed. We'll be connecting remote network and we'll test the connectivity of a user who is behind this remote network. And also we'll be doing the service connection component as well, where this branch user will be accessing something behind this data center.
Okay, now you have provided the branch office and data center 1 and data center 2. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so uh, if the services on the cloud,
Mm-hmm.
for example in AWS or Azure cloud. Okay, so how the this corporate access or these nodes will be get implemented. Uh, So again, it will be get implemented same way, or a different node will be in the picture.
So when we'll configure the service connection, okay, right?
Mm.
On that time, we will select the node where actually we want to provision that, in which location. So at that time, it will be provisioned. And it needs an IP as well, right? This node.
Correct.
So this IP and all, everything will come from the infrastructure subnet. So there is a component which is infrastructure subnet, which should be minimum of /23, a private subnet, which organization and the customer provides to the Palo Alto.
Okay.
Or
No, no.
yeah,
My question is, so if you take this cloud one, okay, uh, cloud diagram.
yeah,
Uh, so in the left side, net draw
uh-huh,
it is there, right? So if you take the one of the if you take that no cloud, drag it,
uh,
okay. So I need to. So my services are hosted on this cloud. This is, for example, AWS or something Azure, right?
yeah,
Okay. So I I need to connect this cloud to the Prisma access now.
uh-huh.
So how it is going to be happen?
So so basically, this is a data center, right? Which is hosted on the cloud where we have our services.
Correct.
Correct?
Right.
So again, we will, so it could be AWS as well, as you mentioned, it could be Azure as well, right?
Mm. Mm.
So we will again configure the IPsec tunnel from
Okay.
this cloud to this, and from then it will access the resources here. So it will be like this. Okay. An
Okay.
IPsec connectivity will be established.
Okay. IPsec tunnel will be established between the cloud and the Prisma cloud. Okay.
Correct, correct,
So
correct.
there
So
will
we have,
be, yeah,
yeah, from
corporate access.
AWS, from Azure, we have that flexibility.
Okay.
All right.
Got it.
Inside Prisma Access, how the routes are distributed. So Prisma Access uses IBGP to distribute the routes. So for example, this data center has certain subnets. So that will be advertised to each and every node, from CAN to CAN 2, from mobile, from CAN to SPN. So it will be redistributed inside Prisma Access by IBGP. And it uses 65534, a private AS range inside Prisma Access. 65534. If a customer says that I am also using 65534 inside my network, then they have to inform us in the beginning so that we can change 65534 from our side. Okay. But if possible, if they are not using that, then we can use the same AS range as well, 65534. So inside Prisma Access, it is IBGP. And from Prisma Access to the organization network, it is an eBGP connectivity. It is eBGP always. So we'll use another BGP AS number so that we can have the eBGP. All right. So this was the architecture. Any questions? So we discussed the three components. I'll summarize again. We discuss remote networks. So remote network is basically a branch office connection, and the traffic of the remote network comes to the security processing node. We discussed the second component, which is service connection, which is used to connect the data center to Prisma, and topic. So basically, service connection connects to the corporate access node. It doesn't connect to the security processing node. We discussed the difference between security processing node and corporate access node. The difference is that the remote network security processing node license is on the basis of bandwidth, how much we purchase, whereas corporate access node is not on the basis of license. There are certain licenses. For example, there is a local license of Prisma Access, which gives us an option to configure two service connections only. When I say two, I can connect only two data center. There is a worldwide license. Okay. The worldwide license gives an option to configure up to five service connection. I can connect five data center. And there are other licenses as well. As per our requirement, we can purchase that. If I have like more than five data center, then I can go for the higher license as well. Mobile user license is on the basis of the unique users. How many users I have in my environment who will connect remotely. So it is on the basis of those unique users. So if I have 1,000 users who will work remotely, then I'll purchase a 1,000 user license for mobile user. Security inspection happens on this node, mobile user gateway node, like it happens on the security processing node. Then we discuss the internal connectivity. So security processing node is connected to each and every corporate access node, a fully mesh topology. Mobile user is always connected to the nearest corporate access node. Okay. And for example, and there is one more license. There is a license called Net Interconnect license. What is the purpose of that license? So if I have two branch office, for example, let's take and let's say so I have a user behind branch office 2. I have a user behind this branch office. So if this user want to communicate to this user, I need a net interconnect license. So, so this is also known as RN user, remote network user. So this user, if want to communicate to this, then I need that license. It is mandatory. Without that, it will not be able to communicate. Also, if a mobile user want to communicate to a branch user, then also I need a net interconnect license. So these are the two scenarios in which we need the net interconnect license, which is an add-on license for Prisma Access. If I have the requirement, I'll go for it. All right. And we discussed the logging part as well, which is Cortex data lake. Whatever the logs are generated on these nodes, these logs are stored on the Cortex data lake. And the Cortex data lake is basically in different regions. And so there are 3 to 4 regions, and we can select the location as per our requirement where actually we want to store our logs for Prisma Access. Okay. All right. So now let's Go to the lab. Like we discussed, we can manage Prisma Access by Panorama or the cloud portal. So we'll do it with the help of Panorama. So let me stop share and let me fetch the credentials. Just give me a minute, please. All right, let me share my screen again. Okay, I hope the screen is visible. So this is the Panorama. If you are familiar with it, you will be comfortable. Software version 10.2.4, and there is no cloud plugin as of now, but we'll install it. Let's first check the license. What license we have actually. Let's go to the license. So just to give you an overview of Panorama, it is also used to manage the firewalls. So, for example, if I have 10 firewalls in my environment, it's not feasible to connect to each and every firewall and make changes there. In that scenario, Panorama comes handy where I can configure a policy, which is a global policy, and it should be applied to all the 10 firewalls in different locations. And with a single push, that policies will be implemented on all the firewalls. That's the benefit of having Panorama. The policies, it has two components, which is device group and the templates. The policies as well as the objects comes under the device group. We can configure the NAT policy, we can configure the decryption, we can configure the security policy, and many other things in the device group policy section. And in the object, we can create address groups, we can create custom applications, we can configure the security profiles. All those things we can do in the object section of the device group. Template consists of network as well as the device part. What we have in the network, we can configure the interfaces. We can configure the zones. So Palo Alto basically has zone. So we configure policies on the basis of zones. We can configure the IPsec as well in this section, as well as the global protect configuration. In the device, what we have, we can configure HA, we can configure administrators, we can configure the log settings and the server profiles. So all those stuff comes under the device section of the templates. This is just an overview of the Panorama. We'll not be utilizing the full capability of the Panorama for Prisma Access. So you don't need an in-depth knowledge of Panorama to manage Prisma Access. Okay. Because some of the components, like the logs and all, that is already being taken care by Prisma Access through Cortex Data Lake. So we don't need to worry about these things. Okay, so the license. So we have this is the Prisma Access license. What is LCL? LCL is the local license. Okay. So if you remember with local, how many service connections we can configure? With local, we can configure only two service connections. Okay. With worldwide, we can configure five or more. Mobile user, MU is the mobile user, RN is the remote network, ENT is the enterprise license. 1 year validity, almost. And this is the serial number. This is the mobile user license, which I have 1,000 users. So if my organization has more than that, then I'll go for the upgraded license version. Total Mbps. So
So every
yep,
year we need to purchase the license again.
sorry.
Every year it should be renewal of the license for this MU mobile users and all. So like
Yes,
uh,
yes,
all
every
the
year. Yes, every year.
okay.
So it's a 1 year license.
It's not a one time purchase.
It's not a one-time purchase. It's not.
Okay.
Everything comes with a validity.
All right.
And the bandwidth. How much bandwidth I have purchased for the remote network, which is my branch office location, 1,000 Mbps.
Okay.
I, I tell you why it comes the validity because see at the back end, Palo Alto is managing your infrastructure. It is taking care of the upgrade. It is taking care of the redundancy. So everything. So that's why it is a costly license, I would say. Very costly license. So just to give you a rough idea, if you want to purchase 100, not 100, so basically minimum of 200 user license you can go for, not less than that. 200 mobile user license. So if I want only a mobile user license, no branch office, okay, only 100 with 1 TB Cortex data lake storage, which is the minimum, which is mandatory. How much it costs? It costs around 10 lakhs for a year. It costs 10 lakhs. That is the license cost. Okay, so we have the license. Now, what next? So this was the first thing which we verified, the license part. We should have the Prisma Access license. If we don't have the license, we get the authorization code on the email from the Palo Alto network. So we put the authorization code here, and if it is a correct code, then it will fetch the license. And there are some of the other ways as well. We can fetch it from the license server or from the license key if we have it. But the auth code is the simplest way to fetch the license, which we get over the email when we purchase the license. All right. So premium, this is the support license. If we have any issues, this is basically Panorama specific. This is not linked with the Prisma Access. This is the Prisma Access license, which we have to focus on. So this was the first thing. Now the second thing, we will install Prisma Access plugins. So we will come here in the plugin section, and there are a lot of plugins. There are AI Ops, AWS, but we have to focus on the Prisma Access plugin. So let's type cloud. So these are the Prisma Access plugins. Different versions 3.2, 3.21, 4.10. Many versions are there. And if there is any latest license which is introduced, not the license, the latest plugin which is introduced by Prisma Access, then we can click here on the check now and it will fetch the new plugins if there is any. Okay. So many plugin versions are there. We will install one of them. So let's go with 4.1. I'm not going to go with the latest one. I'll go with the 4.1, which is the stable version, stable plugin version. So I'll download it. Okay, it is downloaded. Let's see. It is showing me as downloaded with the arrow, with the check mark. Now I'll install this. Looks like it is installed. Let's see. Let's refresh the screen. It is acting a bit weird. Let's give few minutes. All right, it is back now. Okay. Again, see. Give me a minute. Let me relaunch this instance. I'll stop share and I'll share it again. Okay. Looks like it is back. Looks good now. Okay. It is back. Okay. All right. So the plugin is installed. Okay. As we can see here, the check mark. And now with this plugin installed, we have another tab available, which was not there before, cloud service. So this was not there. So this tabs only comes when we have the license for Prisma Access. The license is this one, which we discussed. So with this license, we get the plugins. And once we install the plugin, we get this. So let's go straight to this tab, cloud status. Under cloud services, we have the status. So please verify configurations for NTP server. So we need to verify that. As it is the first time we have installed the plugin, that's why it is showing like that. We need to verify few things. So let me verify the account. I'll stop share and I'll fetch the credentials. Just a minute. I'm just adding the NTP server address and applying the changes. Just allow me a few more minutes. I'm verifying the Prisma Access account. I have the OTP. I'm trying to paste that on the virtual instance. As of now, I'm facing a challenge in copying it to the virtual instance. So I'm trying to log in to the mail account, and from there I'll take it. Uh, uh, Okay. All right, let me share my screen and show you actually what I'm doing here. Okay, so I have logged into the support portal of Prisma Access, and from here we actually get the OTP. So how we get the OTP? We go to the product section, we go to the cloud service, and
Your screen is not visible now still.
okay, let me stop share and share. Let me know once you see it.
Still not visible.
Not visible?
No,
No,
it's a
no, it's
blank screen.
good now. I can see it.
Sorry, you can see, right? The cloud service.
Yes, yes, I can see the cloud services.
Okay, okay, okay.
No, I'm not
Yeah,
able to
so
see.
product,
Any problem with that?
try to rejoin the session and see if you are able to see.
Okay, let me rejoin.
Sure. Are you able to see the screen now?
Yes, we can see. So let's continue.
Okay. So product cloud services. Here we see the license, and from here we generate the OTP. We select the OTP type, which is login service, and the panorama. We select the panorama, and we generate the OTP. So this OTP is valid for 10 minutes. Okay. And we copy this and paste it here. But for some reason, it is showing an error. So I have to delete the license. So I need to take the help of the backend. Anyways, the lab section we'll start from tomorrow. I just wanted to show you how it looks like. So I'll fix that by tomorrow. So every configuration with respect to the Prisma access will be done in this cloud service section. Okay. So let me stop share and I'll discuss few other components which will be required. Just a minute. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, I hope my screen is visible. So before we configure Prisma Access, the service infrastructure subnet, that is important because all the nodes will get an IP from this subnet and minimum of /23 we use a private infrastructure subnet. We don't use a public one, a private one. The other requirement is this subnet shouldn't be used anywhere inside your corporate network. So we have to avoid overlapping. So if you are using 10 dot subnet in your data center, then we'll not use 10, we'll use another network. It could be 172, 192. So basically, it shouldn't be overlapping. So here example is mentioned 172.16.55.0/23. This is the infrastructure subnet which is used in this example, and this does not overlap with any of the existing network. So it doesn't overlap with the mobile user. It doesn't overlap with the data center network. It doesn't overlap with the branch office network. So we have to take this into the consideration when we'll be discussing the design of Prisma Access before jumping into the configuration stuff. This is the difference between service connection as well as the remote network components. So basically, this details the service connection, what it offers. As we mentioned and discussed earlier, the service connection does not provide any security enforcement. It's not a security processing node. We cannot access internet through service connection. The bandwidth, up to 1 Gbps it supports. For the remote network security processing node, we have to purchase the bandwidth. But for the service connection, we don't. So it supports up to 1 gig. So these are some of the features of the service connection corporate access node. A remote service, a remote network security processing node. It is on the basis of bandwidth. And one service, one remote network. So if we have the requirement of so basically one node of service of the remote network supports up to 1 gig. But if we have the requirement of more than that, then we can have multiple tunnels terminating two different nodes, and we can use ECMP, which is equal cost multipath, to achieve the high throughput. That is only if we have that certain use case, if we have the requirement of more bandwidth. All the security tools, threat inspection, URL filtering, decryption, authentication, everything happens on this particular node, which is not the case with the service connection node. Common use cases we discussed, like the service connection, if we have the
Yes,
data center.
we will not be able to log in the that remote network node, right? Or this
Absolutely.
corporate network.
Absolutely, we cannot. You
Okay.
only have access to the management console, which we just saw, the panorama, from where we push the configuration. The
Okay.
configuration is
If
to the
we have
nodes.
the panorama, so we can use the panorama one. So if our the our office we are not using the panorama, we can go with the cloud based management access.
Absolutely, absolutely. Correct.
Okay.
Then it
So
doesn't make sense to have the panorama. Yeah.
Okay. Will you show the cloud one? How we can able to configure the Prisma access?
I have to check the license for that. It is a separate one. I have the one for the Panorama for this training. So it is similar to the cloud portal, but I'll try to show that as well. It's
Yeah.
just the
Yeah.
interface which is different. It is just the
Yeah.
interface which is different, but all the features are same. But
Are
I'll
we
show
going to
you.
get any chance for practice?
No, actually, I'll demonstrate the labs and show you all the components, how it is configured, but you'll not be able to get the dedicated lab.
Okay.
Yeah, the SASE license is very costly, so it is not possible to have the dedicated license.
Okay. What are the license you have? I mean, SASE one. There will be two parts, right? So one will be the SD-WAN, and another one is the security,
Yeah. So
networking
SD-WAN,
part and security part. Yes.
yeah, the SD-WAN component is a different one, Prisma SD-WAN, which comes under the network part. But in this one, we'll configure and l- learn the EDU 318, which is only Prisma access component, not the
Okay.
SD-WAN part. Okay.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, this training will cover the 318 part of the Prisma access, EDU 318.
Okay.
Also, also if I talk about the certification, Prisma Access doesn't have any dedicated certification as of now. Okay. The Palo Alto doesn't have any dedicated exam for Prisma Access. But as per the update, by next year, early next year, there will be a dedicated exam for Prisma Access. As of now, there is no certification. You will
Yeah, but
see something
in
called Prisma Cloud.
Palo Alto, we can do the that assessment. We can take the training we can take, and but they will give some certain questions in that assessment. EDU 318.
Yeah, that is there. But the certification I'm talking about, the global certification, like we have PCNSE, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
is the firewall certification. We don't have any certification like that as of now for Prisma Access. That will be available by next year. Okay.
Okay.
What is the
Just to
difference between Prisma Access and Prisma Cloud and Prisma SASE?
Prisma SASE is Prisma Access component only. So Prisma, if we talk about SASE, it is a mixture of SSE plus SD-WAN. SSE is Secure Service Edge, which is Prisma Access.
All right.
And SD-WAN is Prisma Access as Prisma SD-WAN. So if we combine SSE plus SD-WAN, then it gives SASE solution, a complete SASE solution.
All right. What about Prisma Cloud?
Prisma Cloud is completely different technology of Palo Alto Networks. So it is, to be honest, I'm also not an expert on Prisma Cloud, but it offers different functionality.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So a use case, a retail store use case, we have different offices or the stores. We have a store in different location which is connected to remote network service security processing node. We have data center which is connected to the CAN node. So all those stores as well as data center we can configure with Prisma Access, and this is how the connectivity will look like, where we will establish an IPsec tunnel from each and every store as well as the data center. One more thing, the bandwidth part with respect to the remote networks. A minimum of 50 Mbps we need to allocate to a location. then only we can onboard that remote network location. A minimum of 50, not less than that. Okay. If we have purchased a license of 500 Mbps, we cannot allocate 25 Mbps to a location and onboard that location. A minimum of 50 should be applied.
Okay, that bandwidth we need to purchase from Palo Alto only.
That's right. That's right. So the license of remote network is on the basis of bandwidth.
Okay, if you
Why?
purchase 500 Mbps of bandwidth, so they will allocate for each of the branches, right? In that 500 Mbps.
500 we purchase, and now it depends on us how we want to allocate, how we want to distribute that bandwidth. How much I want to allocate to India region, how much I want to allocate to a US region. That totally depends on me.
Hmm. Okay.
As per
So,
my user base, as per my
hmm,
user count, I'll distribute. For example, if my user base is more in India, then I'll allocate probably 300 Mbps to India and 200 to US. All right.
got it.
These are the use cases. Okay. Plan for remote networks. So remote network planning will be done on the basis of bandwidth requirement in each and every location. How much is the bandwidth needed? Okay. So this is important. Once this is finalized, then only we should be onboarding the remote network. Determine the routing requirements for the remote network, how we want our routing to look like on the branch office. So basically a static route we need, a BGP we need. So it totally depends on the environment. If we are already using BGP, then we should be going with the BGP. We don't have to manually define the routes. And the
Yes,
third is the security policy.
Prisma access only static in BGP.
Yeah, your voice is breaking, but as I understood, you're talking about the routing, right? So it only offers static and the BGP, Prisma, no SPF,
Okay. Okay.
no other routing protocols, only static or the BGP. And at the last, the security policy, what actually we want to allow and what we do want to block. So everything will be done on the remote network. This is how the plan for remote networks look like. Remote network follows the aggregate bandwidth model. What do we mean by aggregate bandwidth? For example, we allocate a bandwidth of 400 Mbps to a compute location, US West. Okay. So in US West location, compute location, we have two locations. For example, Canada West also falls under this, as well as US Northwest. If my Canada West user requirement or bandwidth is less as compared to US Northwest, so Prisma will automatically assign more bandwidth to that location. I don't have to manually reduce or increase the bandwidth. Automatically, it will scale. If my user count decreases in one location, then the bandwidth will be reduced there and it will be automatically assigned from the pool to a different location where we have more user base. That is the meaning of aggregate bandwidth allocation model. Earlier, when the Prisma access started, it was on the basis of location, on per location basis. It was location bandwidth model, but now it is aggregate bandwidth model. The challenge with the location based bandwidth was that if we have assigned a certain amount of bandwidth to one location, and the user base has decreased in that location, then we have to manually reduce the bandwidth and assign it to other. That was a manual task. But with the aggregate bandwidth model, it happens automatically. Prisma Access takes into the consideration the user base and the requirement of the bandwidth, and on the basis of that, it assigns the bandwidth. So that is aggregate bandwidth model. All right, so that was it with respect to the components of Prisma Access as well as the infrastructure. I'll stop here. Any questions, anything? From tomorrow onwards, we'll be doing the labs for Prisma Access. I'll look into the verification part, and once it is verified, like I showed you, we take the OTP from the support portal and verify it. It's a one-time process which we do in the starting. And once it is activated, then we can proceed with the configuration.
Okay, that's fine, Naresh.
Yeah. So today we discussed the architecture of Prisma Access, the components of Prisma Access, the routing, how it looks like inside the Prisma Access. What are the routing methods which we use to advertise the networks from the on-prem to the Prisma Access, which is static or the BGP, and the different functionality of nodes. What node offers what functionality? So tomorrow we'll start with the infrastructure subnet and we'll be doing the lab for service connection. That will be the agenda for tomorrow.
Sure.
Is there any way we can get in contact with you?
Yeah, Jubair, same. I was about to ask that.
We'll be in touch. For this week, we'll be in touch. If you have any queries, you can reach out to the team of Networkings and they'll for sure contact me and then I can have a discussion with you.
You are
That's
not
how.
there in the WhatsApp group?
I'm not sure which WhatsApp group we have, but I'll check. I think I am not part of that group, but I'll check that.
Okay, if you share your number, we can add in that, right?
Yeah, guys, I'm Gaurav from networking. So I'll do it. Okay. I'll discuss with Naresh separately and I'll do it.
All right.
Thank you, guys,
Thank you.
for today. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.